Welcome aboard. It's Captain G with Operation Winter War, Turn 5, Soviet turn. Actually, Turn 6. I forgot to advance this. Turn 6, the Soviet turn. So, the first thing the Soviets did with their income is pay off this factory. And then they produced infantry and artillery in every one of their 3 frontline factories. And then they just had enough after paying off this to place 1 infantry down in Leningrad. And then they did a broad offensive. So we'll start in the north. Using the existing forces on hand, supported by air, they attacked into this northern zone, wiped out all the defenders. On the defenders' last roll, they wiped out the last of the attackers. So this was an attack, but it remains in Finnish hands. There were no surviving Russians to take that away. And that would not be the first time that that happened this turn. Here, they brought in these forces plus, I think, 1 infantry down here, which perhaps should have gone in to the north, and crushed these Finnish ski troops who have to defend at 1, supported by the air. And then this guy has to land there. Okay. Then when we go down, let's go all the way down to the south. They loaded their transport with 1 infantry, 1 artillery from this coastal zone outside of Leningrad and moved the entire force forward, and one of their submarines placed a Soviet mine to cut off this sea zone from the Finnish Navy. So now they are aggressively using the Soviet Navy as a tool of their foreign policy. And then down here in the center, undeterred by the Finnish incursion, they came out of Oulu to grab this victory city, grab this zone. They attacked into Maizer. Apologies, I don't know how to pronounce some of these zones, or by some of these I mean all. But again, similar to the north, they wiped each other out, so no Russian troops remain to take control. So the zone remains in Finnish hands. That's 2 IC. Actually, that's 3 because the northern one was worth 2. So that's 3 industrial coinage that they did not collect. Then they did a broad offensive along the front, trying to snipe, cut off, I think, or maybe I mentioned this, trying to cut off their supply line. There is no such thing as supply in this, although the rules does suggest that if you want to use house rules, that would be kind of neat that each side's forces always have to trace supply back to home country, or maybe even beyond that into a factory. But again, I'll leave that for those who like to house rule that. So they cut them off, certainly from any fast movers moving back and forth. They also moved into here, again, 1 infantry in each, and they moved into St. Michael, assuming that's how it's pronounced. And interestingly, they moved in force. I had thought about just sending 1 infantry, but I decided to move in force because now I can threaten Helsinki. I can threaten Kymi. Can still put pressure from 2 zones now into this factory in Savonia, or both these zones can still attack into this fortified location in this victory city. So this is a reconnaissance in force by the Russians, and they continue to funnel up reinforcements from Leningrad by going around. I did look into the rules to see, because this is a frozen lake you can move through, but you have it's not a crossing like a river. It's considered a zone, and you lose half your forces falling through the ice. So I'd rather just take time than lose half the forces. So hence those guys are coming around. And the tanks did not proceed in country. They moved up to defend the factory against the Finnish tanks. Finland did not have any anti-tank infantry here, so these tanks felt comfortable doing that. And again, from the Russian perspective, 1, 2, they could join into this. So if Russia next turn decides to start collapsing the Finnish fortifications, they can attack from this zone. If they attack from this zone, they trip the fortifications. So likely they're not going to. They could, but they're not going to. So they could attack from here, avoid the fortifications. They could attack from east, from the north, and also from the northwest. That's all one zone. Plus the tanks coming in and any air that can reach. So that puts a lot of pressure. This game's ramping up now. Soviets are getting more aggressive. The stalemate in the north seems to have been broken, or at least tipped heavily in Russia's favor. And we'll see what it looks like at the end of the Finnish turn. Even with those 3 industrial points, coinage that they missed out in the north and in Russia, they still walked away with 43 cash on hand next turn. And we'll see what the Finns have in store. Thanks for watching. This is Captain G, over and out.